Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Show Me How It's Done. I'm your host, Lauren Urbonis, and I'm a Canadian demonstrator, so if you need anything and you're in Canada, just let me know. I'm more than happy to help you out. And all the supplies that I'm using in today's video and the measurements I have put in the description on this video. So today's video is a little detailed. There's a lot of steps to it, but I thought it was time to do something special. It's the start of August. It's the start of my birthday month. So I just decided we're going to have a little bit of fun. So I'm going to show you the card and then I will break it down for you, and hopefully you won't get too lost as we do it today. So here's my little belly band and whomp. So this guy is a pop-out accordion fold card. And don't worry, once you cut everything and get things going, it is not that tricky. You're kind of just doing the same step multiple times for things, and we'll get you through it. But I wanted to show you guys how to do this card today. And I'm just going to show you the couple products that I'm using on the card. So this paper that you're kind of seeing show up, this is from our Celebration brochure. We still have 1 month left of this promotion. So for every $60 you spend, that's the price in Canada. It might be different if you're watching from somewhere else. So every $60 you spend, you get to pick something from here for free. There's also items that you can get for $120 purchases. But the item that we're using today is on page 7. It's the Rings of Love Designer Series paper. So this stuff right up here at the top. And then you can see there are some samples with it because it coordinates with a set from our holiday catalog. So if you look on page 62, there's an adorable little stamp set up here, and there's also some dies and an embossing folder down here. So this entire bundle coordinates perfectly with the paper. So make sure if you bought this bundle, if you like this bundle, you're going to want to get that paper before it disappears, because all our supplies and items in here are while supplies last. So do make sure to place that order and get it for free with a $60 purchase. If you like what we're doing today, the whole bundle is $72.75 with the stamp, the embossing folder, and the dies. So you can always get the paper free with that purchase too. So let's get going. I guess maybe you want to see the rest of the paper pack in person so I can show you what I have left. So there's some trees in there and poinsettias on the other side. I've been using this for class prep, so pardon the fact that there's like so many trees right now. In the package, there are 2 12x12 sheets, but this is what I have left after numerous card classes and preps. Okay. There's little cute houses. You got some nice flurries. And the little birdies. And there we go. And then this one is actually the one I'm going to use today. So my sample I did in Poppy Parade, but I'm going to show you using this sheet here how you can make one with Night of Navy. And then I also paired this sheet, the little birdies, with soft seafoam. So if you're wanting 3 different options, you use the same measurements, but you'll get different cards with all your combinations. Okay, so fun times here. This is going to be fun. We're going to start by putting the middle part of our card. We're going to cut those pieces and assemble it so that we can assemble the card kind of in the order that it needs to go. Okay, so for this middle panel, I have to move that out of the way. Sorry, you're going to need 2 pieces of colored cardstock. Okay, so I used red on my sample. Like I said, I'm using navy for this. So 2 pieces of cardstock. You're going to need one of them that is 3 1/4 by 8 1/2, 3 1/4 by 9. The only difference is between that 8 1/2 and 9, we've got one little piece for our papers to overlap each other, okay? But before we attach them, I need to give you some marks to score. So you're going to put a score mark at 3 inches, 5 3/4, 3 inches, 5 3/4, and 8 1/2. Okay, so hopefully we can see these two lines there scored the same, 3, 5 3/4, and then we just need that extra little score mark right here. And that's where I'm going to put some tape right now. And of course you can use glue or seal, whatever you prefer. I'm putting tape right here on that extra little piece, and I'm going to connect this. Now, if you'll notice, if you look on your paper, this one side here on the left, this 3 inches, is larger than these two sections that come after it. This 3 inch and this 3 inch need to be on the opposite ends of your project. Okay, so we've got 3 inch, the 2 3/4 kind of section, 2 3/4, 2 3/4, 2 3/4, and another 3. Okay, so just make sure when you're attaching these two parts that you have the 3 inch on the end. You don't want to attach this one right now. Okay, and this should give you just one huge long strip to work with. And then we're gonna start folding, okay? So right smack dab in the middle, you're gonna fold up. And if you've got a bone folder, that would be great to have on hand. So what you should have right now is kind of a giant V, okay? Now we're going to take the next fold line and come down and down on either side. So you've got kind of a wonky M right now. Your V turned into a little M. And again, if you've got that bone folder, great idea to just kind of make those nice solid lines. Okay. So this is what you should have at the moment. You should have 2 lines left to fold on. That's that 3 inch sections on either side. We're folding back up to make a double W. I don't know what letter this is. So grab your bone folders. Make sure those lines are nicely creased. And then I will just put this up again for you. Okay, so you've basically made waves. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3. Just make sure it looks like this. It should be kind of an I guess it is a W. There we go. Well, a double W. That would be 1 W. So this is what you should have at the moment. To decorate, we want little things on each of our panels. So hopefully you can kind of see those here. So we're going to use the same color scheme. The only change that I made between the cards is the designer paper and the cardstock background, but everything else is the same, no matter which of the 3 color choices you have. Okay, so you're going to cut 6 pieces of early espresso, and they're going to be all the same size. So these 6 should be 2.5 by 3. And I'd like you to cut 6 of them all the same, 2.5 by 3. And we're going to attach them to each of these panels here. Okay, so I'm going to get going on that while you guys are busy trapping. I need a pair of scissors. Where did you go? There we go. I always forget something. Guaranteed. Okay, there we go. So I like double-sided tape. I know you're probably going to be tempted to pop these up on dimensionals, but because we have to close our card, it's really challenging if you put dimensionals on everything. We are going to pop up some little trees and stuff in here, but that's about it. Okay, we don't want to dimensionalize everything, otherwise your card won't close and the belly band measurements that I'm going to give you later won't fit. Okay, so just keep it in mind. You can do it if you want to, but you might have to adjust some things and your card might kind of bump into itself, which isn't as fun. Okay, so I'm just putting tape on the back of all of my brown pieces, and then I will get to attaching them right away. Okay, so the brown pieces, 1 per panel. You have 6 panel faces showing. We're going to put 1 per panel, and you might end up having to kind of flatten your card or your paper out to work on it. That's okay. At the end, we'll just come back and fix it. So you will notice I gave you measurements that fit perfectly in these little sections here, for instance. But when you get to those 2 3-inch marks, you're probably going to freak out for a second and be like, Lauren, you told me the wrong thing. I should have had 2 that are larger. Don't stress. Those parts are getting tucked behind the card here. So you just take your brown and make sure it is nicely lined up to your scored line. Well, give it a little gap too, just like you do with the other ones. So you'll end up with kind of an even border on the top, the side, and the bottom. And then you'll have this really large space that is getting tucked in behind this card later. Okay, so don't stress. You're still on the right track and we're still doing all the same measurements. Okay, so just keep moving over. I'm adding all 6 of these. And when you reach the other side, you're going to run into that same issue because, of course, this is a 3-inch wide. So we're just now going to give ourselves a nice little border close to this scored line and on the top and bottom. And we will end up with another strip that is a little bit larger than what we had before. Okay. So now what we'd like to do is to cut some little papers to decorate. So 2 of them are going to be designer series paper. And as I mentioned, I was using a different pattern. And then 4 of them are going to be crumb cake. And I'll show you how I decorated mine. Of course, you can do the same or decorate at will. So all 4 crumb cakes and the DSP, they're measuring the same. You're going to go 2 1/4 by 2 3/4 for all of them. 2 1/4 by 2 3/4. So your 2 designer papers are going to get attached to this middle section right here. And then the other ones, I would suggest stamping on them first if you're going to stamp. Because if you've made a mistake, it's really easy just to turn those papers over and try again, as opposed to having to pull them off and redo the whole thing. Okay, so I'll show you the stamps I chose to decorate as soon as these 2 are on. I like to just get those out of my way so I don't have to worry about accidentally putting ink on them. Okay, so I'm just going to move this for a second and this guy so that I can show you what I did for decor. So I've got a little piece of scrap here to stamp on. I'm going to take 2 of my crumb cake pieces and the wood green stamp. So this is from Ringed with Nature, this one right here. And I'm just going to stamp with early espresso a nice background on these guys, okay? So I'm using Early Espresso ink. Just lift that up, kind of like a makeup compact, and just dab, dab, dab. You don't need to shove this in, otherwise you're gonna get ink all over your block and probably all over your project. So just one at a time, you can start doing a little bit of messy stamping. And I did find with the tree rings, it didn't really look that great if you overlapped them. So just kind of start in one corner and add some detail. And then your next one can be a little different, however you'd like it. And if you don't have these stamps, that's okay. You don't have to stamp. You can still add some other pieces, or you could stamp some leaves or anything, because this is a very natural looking piece, okay? So you don't have to do exactly what I do if you don't own those stamps. So there's two. We'll just set those aside for a second while we do the next two here. So I decided I wanted to build some little mushrooms. So with the stamp and the Early Espresso ink, I'm going to add my little mushroom base. And then there's a little trio of mushrooms here. So I chose Poppy Parade ink, and I'm just going to add that right here. And that leaves me enough room to kind of write on there as well if I want to later. And then on my other one, I decided I wanted to do a little branch. So I'm choosing the Soft Succulent ink pad. Dab, dab, dab. And then I'm going to add a few berries. These are all from the Ringed with Nature set. There's the mushroom bases and the 3 mushrooms. There's my little plant and the berries I'm going to use right away. And then the sentiments that you're going to see me using are on here as well. Okay, so where's my berries? I lost them. I have a whole pile. There we go. Little berries. And you can either leave this one blank to write on as well, or if you want, you can add a sentiment. So I'm just going to go with Love and Warmth. Wherever that guy went. There we go. Love and Warmth in Early Espresso. That nice brown color. There we go. Now you can attach these crumb cake pieces to your card. So we'll turn them all over. I'm going to put tape on the back. Down for now. Might need it. And get ready to attach. Okay. Okay, so you can start attaching these. Bring over your base again. Just make sure things are kind of facing the way that you wanted them to. So I wanted Love and Warmth right here. Then I wanted some rings, tree rings here. If you don't have all these stamps, you could also, instead of doing all crumb cake, you could maybe do some more designer paper sets. completely up to you. Okay, so this looks cute and adorable as it is, but I really wanted to go all out with this set, and I wanted to add some of these rings here that came from that die and stamp set. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to cut those out because it's really quite easy if you have the dies. Okay, so what you're going to need to start is 2 pieces of cardstock. One is going to be soft suede, one is going to be crumb cake, and you need our nice 3D embossing folder. You can actually do both of these at once, just pile them on top of each other, and you'll notice this one's a little longer. It was just whatever scraps I had. Okay, so maybe I'll put that one down. Oh, you're not long enough. You're not long enough. Okay, come here. Give me a sec. We're cutting these out, so it doesn't fully matter, but you do kind of want them showing through. Okay, so there's 1, and there's 2. And then close this up. And with your cut and emboss machine, along with your 3D plate, we're gonna run this through. Right here. Okay, so I've got my large thick plate, putting that down first, and then I'm going to put my embossing folder on top, and my 3D plate. It might be blue, it might be gray, depending on when you bought it, and roll it through. Okay. That is how you can get both of those done at once. But let's say you just want to play with these guys here. You can take the whole die then and throw it over top, and we're going to roll it through once more just on our cutting board. So sorry, you can't see, but I can't shove it through. There we go. Okay, there's my beautiful cutting mat. There's my rings. All the way around. And then I'm going to put one more plate on top. And cut this out. And there's all your 5 brown pieces. Now, one thing that I do want to mention, this die is designed, if you want, you can actually fit your die straight inside here. I'll show you how it would look. So you'd fit your die straight inside, your paper over top, fold it up, and run it through with the 3D plate. It will cut out those trees for you as well. This is just an extra step. You don't need to be doing this. So you have 2 options, but I decided I wanted to emboss this one at the same time. So this is option number 1, would do the same thing for you. Okay, so 2 options on how to get these out, but sometimes it's easier if you're doing 2 colors just to do the embossing all at once. Okay, so now for this piece, we wouldn't use that large die here. We're not going to use this one. We're going to go back to the case and we're going to find the little pieces that match with the insides of the ones that we're wanting. So I'm wanting these two, actually these three. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take those out. Okay. We'll show you on the plate how it looks. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. And then you just kind of figure out where their indents and circles are. Okay, so here's the teeny tiny one. You would go there. You would go there. Okay, so they're all lined up. If you want at the same time, you could do these two and just save them for another project. You might as well, because then they're not going to waste. Run those through. And then when you take them out, they will fit inside your little pieces here. Okay, so let me just, I like to put my extras away so I don't lose those in my case. Okay, and then in the end, what I've kept is these pieces here. Okay, I'm going to attach those just with some tape or glue, whatever you'd prefer, but just put a little bit of tape on the back here. We're going to use these two large ones on the inside of the card and then save this small one for the front. Oh, wrong one. There we go. But there's no point doing that one later when we're doing the other ones now. So get it ready and then put this little one aside. Okay, so put this guy aside, turn these two over and put dimensionals on the back. This is the one part that we have room to put some dimensionals on. And then if you bring back your little base, doesn't matter which wood goes where, just pick a side and put one of them on the right, one of them on the left. Okay, so here is the inside pop-out feature of our card. We have to put this aside for the moment and work on the front of the card. Now you're gonna hate me because this was not even the hardest part. We have a lot more die cutting to do. And that's why I say it's definitely just gonna be a labor of love for this card. Okay, so let me move a few things out of our way. Don't need that. Okie dokie. So we're gonna work on this base now and cut the pieces for the rest of the card. Okay, so I'm going to take you from start to finish with that, and hopefully you won't hate me by the end of it. Okay, so just like we did with those thin strips, we're gonna cut more more cardstock for our base. Okay, so you will need one piece that is 5.5 by 8, and a second piece that is 5.5 by 8.5. So two pieces, 5.5 by 8, 5.5 by 8.5. And then two score marks in here. So the 8-inch piece is just getting a score mark at 4. The 8.5 is getting a score mark at 4 and 8. Just like we did with the last one, we're going to put tape right in this little guy right here. Okay, so a piece of double-sided tape. These sections are all equal, so it does not matter which side you attach from your 8-inch piece, but something needs to get attached right here. Okay. So you should have an extra long piece now with 4 equal sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, that are all 4 inches wide. Okay, so now we're gonna have a little bit of fun. We need to put some holes in them. We're gonna use our stitched rectangles. And if you grab your set, so this is just 3 of them. Let me put the whole set. Okay, if I was to grab my whole set right here, I have counted from the outside 1, 2, 3, and then I've taken 4, 5, 6 from the set. Okay, so start at the outside. 1, 2, 3, leave those behind. 1, 2, 3, leave them be. 4, 5, 6. These are the ones we're using for today's project. Number 6 and number 4 we're going to use for something else. Keep number 5. Okay, so take away 6 and 4. And number 5, we're going to find that middle of our rectangle, and it does not need to be perfect. Please don't stress. And I like to just either use some washi tape, or I found this labeling and cover-up tape on Amazon, and it works quite nicely to hold this in place for me, like this. And then I'm going to roll it through my cut and emboss machine, and just simply for the sake of time, I'm going to say I've done that, because you guys, you know how to cut and emboss, and I'm going to pretend that it's done. Okay, so I rolled it through, I've moved this to the next section and done the same thing, and I've done it twice more on all 4. Okay, so you have 4 sections with little rectangles as close to the inside as you possibly can have. Okay, you're going to need to do a little bit more die cutting, so let's grab number 6 and number 4 and cut a couple pieces here of crumb cake to make these frames. Okay, so your crumb cake, you need to cut 6 pieces to start with. They're all going to measure the same. They will need to be 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, and then I will show you on one of these how we're going to cut that frame out, just to explain it nicely. So let me get my machine. Need a bigger desk, even though I have a big desk. Okay, here we go. We're going to take our one piece of crumb cake, and we're going to take 2 dies, like so. Try and line the larger one up in about the middle of your rectangle, and then the smaller one goes inside there. Once again, grab myself a little bit of tape. Like this. And don't be afraid to kind of take some time and make sure you're happy how it looks. 1 and 2. Okay, so this is how it should line up for you. Put that last plate over top. Roll. What we'll have is this frame that you can just gently pull off. This is all that we're using from that cutout, is this frame. So you will end up having a second little frame because you've done the work. And this can be used on another project at some point. Little guy, set that aside. And this little guy is a nice rectangle that's also been stitched out. So those 2 pieces can be saved for something else. I might even try and make a miniature version of this closer to the holidays, and maybe we'll use that frame then. So you will do that 4 times on 4 of your crumb cake pieces. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. That leaves you with 2 crumb cake pieces, one for the front and one for the back of the card. So leave these for now. We're going to just set them aside and focus on attaching these 4 to your card. Okay, so I would just flip them over and start gluing. Double-sided tape works great. You can also use seal or glue. Completely up to you, but just get those attached. And I'm gluing this to the inside of my workspace. We haven't folded anything yet, so it shouldn't matter at this point, but just if you have a preference for what is the front and what's the back, you probably want to make sure these are on the inside. Okay, so I'm not even going to put any on the bottom, just go ahead and attach these. And nothing's going to be a perfect science, but hopefully we've found enough of a middle ground that these still have a nice little border around them and inside them. Ooh, come back. Don't stick too early. There we go. That was not nice. Okay, and last one. There. Okay, so you should have 4 little windows here. So we're going to fold backwards and give a really, really crisp fold. Okay, so you should have kind of that same V, but we've got blue on the inside and then our 4 panels on the outside. So V turns into letter M. Right there, like that. Okay, so again, grab your bone folder. Make sure these are nice and crisp. This one too. Okay, and the nice thing about folds is if you accidentally did something the wrong way, you can easily flip it around right now and fix it. So on the inside, if you were to set it on the table, you'd have two of these kind of framed images on the tabletop and one peeking into a little mountain in the middle. And then of course on the back side right now is all blue. Okay, so that's what yours should look like at the moment. We're going to start attaching our fronts and our backs as well as this little guy. Okay, so here's the fun. Turn this over so you've got your blue, and we're going to put adhesive just in the inner space here around the frame. Don't put any up into the edge because you want space for your back piece to have a border. Okay, so just take adhesive and go around the edges right here. Okay, it should be like this on one side and the same on the other, only doing that middle section. Like that. So the two sides have a nice little frame. And then I'm going to get you to take one more piece of tape, and on the far, like the beginning part, put it right up to the edge of that frame, because that's where this little piece is going to attach to. And on the other side, do the same thing. Okay, so I'll just pause there for a minute with that in the screen, just to remind you of how your adhesive should look. At this point, there is no front or back. There's no right or wrong. So until we start actually adding the middle piece and the designer paper, there's no rhyme or reason to this one yet. Okay? So if you have this ready, and this is why I say double-sided tape is the best, you're going to only take off the tape for those little sections. If you've used glue or if you've used seal, then just be careful you don't set this down on your workspace. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a decision of, you know, which way is going to be my start. So I'm going to take the Love and Warmth and just tuck it gently so that it has only the slightest of border space. And you do want to kind of make sure that it's even between your two top and bottom sections, so as much as you can. Okay, so that is now attached. It's attached here, and it's ready to go. We need to take the rest of these pieces and thread them through rectangle number 2 and up through rectangle number 3. Okay, so what you end up with is this designer paper kind of tucked in behind those 2 points. So I'll do that once more just to show you. You don't need to undo yours if you've done it already, but this is rectangle 1. We've attached that very edge piece. Rectangle number 2, we're going to take the end of our little snake and come poke out rectangle number 3. So this is what you should have so far. And then this little piece here on rectangle number 4 is also getting tucked in the back. If you're worried about how it's resting, you can go ahead and fold your card up at the moment. And this gives you time, if something's not adjusted, to kind of just peel this and just reset it in a more comfortable way. Okay, so close that, make sure it's kind of all popping out in one fluid motion, like so. Hopefully I haven't lost anyone yet. We're just gonna close the card up. And then all of these pieces here, you can take the tape off. I actually am gonna throw one more piece of tape, I think, in here, just so it gives my brown something to attach to there. But take those all off. And this is where one of those extra pieces of crumb cake is going to come in handy. We're gonna just set it in the back here. That's going to be our back panel. It's a great one for you to write on if you really want to have a nice note. And then to make sure it's flat, just open up panel number 4 and press all over it. That should make sure that this piece is all flat. Do the other side. Again, could maybe add a little tape to the back of this guy. This is panel number 1 that I've now closed, and I'm going to take that last piece of crumb cake and put it on here. Like so. Okay, and again, open panel number 1, just press nice and gently over it so that we make sure we've got that all sealed. Okay. So you should be able to open it and it should kind of pop out and move like this. This should kind of be hanging in that middle space with a paper on either side. To decorate, I'm just going to grab a piece of designer series paper. Whatever I used on the inside here is going to be the piece that I used for the outside. So my designer paper is going to be 3.5 by 5, and that's just getting attached with tape or seal. And before I attach it, just make sure you are at the front of your book. You don't want to have accidentally flipped this around and be putting this on the back piece. So make sure your book is opening the right way and add this in. Whoop. There we go. We are almost done now. Okay, you guys are doing great. I know this is a lot, and I'm hoping you're maybe watching on replay, because then you can just click pause and catch up on any spots. Okay, we need a belly band. So this guy, I have done a piece of Night of Navy. It is 1 inch by 11, and I'm scoring at, I guess it should be this way, 3 1/4 by 7.5. Okay, and the belly bands, they just get folded in on one another like this. Doesn't really matter. Make sure your ends are done. So here's your piece. Whichever way you want it to be folded, you're going to take 2 pieces of adhesive. So let's say it's folded here right now. I'm just going to open up this first one, put adhesive on the back of the piece that's lying down, and on the very end of the piece that's sticking up. So I'm not going to take my backs off yet, but so that when I fold it down, 2 pieces are touching each other, and I've made a nice little loop. So just a reminder, fold one piece down, put tape on there, and then on the end of the other piece, you'll also put some tape. Go ahead and take those backings off and close her up. And that should give you this cute little loop, which will fit right over top. Might have to stretch it the first time. There we go. Of your packet. Now, if you want to decorate it, I have an idea here for you. So take it off because it's easier to work with that way, but I just wanted to show you where it went. And we're gonna start with our stamping. So I stamped just for you, wherever that is, there we go. In early espresso, you won't be able to see it as well on the dark color of the navy here, but you'll still see it. So put that there. And then I told you to keep that one last little ring, tree ring. This guy here, we're gonna pop up on dimensionals right over top of this sneaky little connection piece so that nobody knows it's there. Okay, so I like to just grab some dimensionals, put those right on my strip, and then I'm gonna put my little tree over top. A little wood cookie. Okay, there you go. And then to decorate, I thought it was fun just to take a few of the dies from the set here. So I grabbed a little branch in soft succulent. I grabbed the top of an acorn in soft suede. And then you'll see this piece here. This actually doubles as the bottom of an acorn and the top of a mushroom. So here's the stems for the mushroom, and here's the top. So you'd use it with both of those options. Okay, so I cut it out here so it could be the bottom of my little acorn. And I'm just gonna glue it together. Couple dots of glue right on the top here. And my acorn, like that. So while it's drying, I'm just going to grab this little leaf and I'm going to pop that under with a glue dot. There we go. Okay, so glue dots are great. They come on this nice little roll. Just pop your little embellishment on top of it and then pull that up and it'll have some glue on the back for you. Just tuck that guy in here. And then my acorn I thought was actually kind of cute if I popped him up on a dimensional as well. So I'm just going to put a dimensional right beside that wood cookie. And my little acorn can kind of go right on top of that. There we go. So then once it's ready, just gets thrown right on top of, right on top of your stuff, kind of closes everything up. And then when somebody wants to open it, of course, they'll pull off that belly band and they'll have this gorgeous looking project that I think they could probably put on their desk and just kind of look at and be happy with. So there you go. I know that was a very, very busy video, but I hope you guys liked it, and I hope that you can at least just come back and kind of watch any parts that you missed. But that gives you an idea of what to do with some of your extra designer paper and a way to kind of tie it into a set that's in our stamping catalog. So there you go. I will talk to you guys next week, and hopefully you'll reach out with any questions or clarifications that you might need. So I will see you guys later. Bye.